So you're looking to buy an E46, but you don't know whether the car is half decent or it's absolutely awful. Well, today I'm going to tell you. But first things first, welcome back to the channel. And yes, we are on the E46 and I'm going to be running through a few things that you need to look out for on this car. Now, we're going to start with the pros on this car, and the first one I'm going to mention, and you've probably already know this because you've clicked on this video because you've already searched one already. Now, these are cheap cars. They are cheap, fun cars. You can find one of these online now for a couple £1,000s, sometimes even a couple of £100. You can get them very cheap. I've looked all over Auto Trader before, eBay, Facebook, all of that sort of stuff. And you can get them for a couple £1,000s for a half decent one as well. Not too high mileage. This one I actually bought on 98,000 miles and it cost me just under £2,000. Don't get me wrong, it was stripped out. I've done loads for this car, we're not going into that. However, you can get them very cheap. A decent one, you're probably looking at £2,000 to £3,000. So yeah, very cheap, very fun. Now, moving on from the fact that this car is cheap and fun, you're not always looking for the cheapest car. You're looking for a car that you like. And for me, I love the look of these E46s. That is the main reason I wanted to buy one, is because they look so nice. And especially when you finish modifying them or you're doing a few bits of them, they can look even better. So that is one thing I will say as well. The looks of these cars, me personally, I'm an older style car sort of guy. So I like the older look of cars. I'm not a fan of the new shape sort of thing. So a car like this, cheap, fun, and looks really nice. So yeah, looks is a main thing for me. That is one of the pros to these cars. They all look so nice. Now, another pro for me, and if you're anything like me, you like modifying cars. And these cars are so easily modifiable. You can buy absolutely anything for these cars. I think the 3 Series, when it was created, they have decided this is going to be the best model they ever created, because I think 3 Series is possibly one of the most popular BMWs you can buy. And they have decided everything is going to fit this car. You will not struggle to find a part that will fit this car. If you want to modify it, wheels, splitter kits, bumpers, interior, anything will fit this car. So if you're like me and you're looking to modify your BMW when you buy it, you will not struggle to find something. There will be absolutely everything for this car. Now, another thing for me is the fact that because it's such an old car, and I know a lot of old cars have that raw feeling to them. These new cars, they kind of do everything for you. You don't really have to do it. Like, you just kind of need to push the pedal and it goes. Everything is done for you. But on these older cars, you have to do everything manually. The feeling of the car, everything, it is so raw, and I love it. That is one of the main things for me, raw feeling. I want to feel like I'm driving the car, and you will get that from an E46 due to the fact that it is an extremely old car, but it is such a fun car. That raw feeling is one of the main pros. Now, the last pro that I'm going to go into with this car is the depth of this car. Now, if you look at this one, you probably don't know the engine size, because there is absolutely tons of them. You can buy so many different models for this car, and you can buy so many different colours. This one is actually sea green. If I'm not mistaken, it is actually a pretty rare colour. There weren't that many of them made, which I love. You can get so many different rare colours for this car, and engine sizes, suspension, all of it different, interior, all of them are completely different. You can choose whichever one you like. There's so many on the market now, so many different variants you can buy. So as much as saying they are a very popular car, you can have quite an individual, unique E46 for yourself, just like this one. Now it's come to the point where we go through the bad things about this car. Now, some of them are quite individual to me, and if you're going to do the same sort of thing I did with this car and you're similar to me, you're going to have some of the same problems. Now, the first one I will go into is the maintenance on this car. It can be extremely expensive to repair a car like this. As you may know, this car has been through the works. It has had problem after problem when I first bought it. Probably because of its history, it was sent around the track all the time, daily driven as a drift car. So it had a pretty hard life. However, when I bought it, of course, I was daily driving it, turning it into a show car. So I had to repair a lot of stuff on this car, and it wasn't cheap. For an old car like this, a lot of the parts are discontinued, so you're looking at second-hand parts or from a company that has bought them out and are selling them, and they're going to be quite expensive. Now, the next one, as I said, is individual to me, but I feel like a few people watching this might want to do the same thing I have got, and that is a welded diff. Yes, it was an ex-drift car, so it's obviously going to have a welded diff, which is basically a cheap LSD where they've welded the inside and both wheels spin at the same direction. Very inconvenient as a daily driver. Don't get me wrong, it is fun to drive it and you can slide it extremely easily. However, the chatter from it is absolutely awful. For example, parking this car, it is horrible. The car is jumping, it's skipping all over the place. Tight turns, you can hear it chattering. It can get quite hard to control. So if you're going to do one, I recommend don't doing one. If you're going to daily drive it, if you're doing it to drift the car, 100% I would do it. But if you're daily driving this car and you want comfort, that is, do not get a welded diff. Now we're going to go back to the maintenance aspect of this car. Now I have gone through it already. However, there are a few things like the engine that you need to look out for. So this is actually a 2.5 litre inline six. Now for me, I think that is probably one of the better engines you can get. They can be very reliable. The only problem I've really had with this is the throttle body, because it's just killed itself and I replaced it and everything was fine on it. Maybe a MAF sensor, kind of keeping up with the maintenance on the engine, and it will be fine. However, some of the engines, I will say, aren't the best. So I have the 2.5 litre M52. This is a decent engine. This is one of the better ones. The M52, I've heard from many people, they are probably one of the most reliable engines you can buy. Now, I would highly recommend not going for the M54. Now, this might be biased to some people and they might not like that, but I've heard horror stories about the M54. Now, you can get so many different models for these cars. There's like a 2 litre, 2.2, 2.8, 3 litre, 2.5, like 323, 325, 328. Like, there is so many different models, but I would highly recommend staying with the M52. I think this is a TU. They're probably the best engine you can go for. M54 I would probably stay away from, and there are a couple more, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I would definitely say M54 I would stay away from. M52 I would go for. The next one I will say can be difficult to figure out, to find when you're actually buying one, but I would try my hardest to look for it anyway. But that is going to be the rust underneath these cars. These cars, because of their age, can get very, very rusty underneath. This one, for example, the sills are going orange. I'm gonna have to rectify that at some point. They're still okay for now, but they will need sorting. And all the suspension components are all rusted underneath. It was an absolute nightmare sorting the suspension out on this car because everything was seized and rusty. So ideally you want one that has been motorway driven, or one owner and they've taken care of it and they've had it serviced properly. I know it's going to be hard to find one, but you do want to be looking for that sort of stuff because it can be an absolute nightmare and it will drive you through the wall if you are trying to change the suspension and you're trying to sort anything underneath. It can be a massive problem because it takes an absolute lifetime and you'll end up having to replace components because they break. Now, the last one we're going to go through is a bit of a two-part. It's kind of a pro and a con because the interior on these is awful, especially mine. I think some of them are half decent. You can get levers, like memory seats, you get electric, everything. Sometimes they can be pretty bad, like mine. It's just the cloth interior and the actual state of it is awful. But they are very old. However, moving on to a pro on that point, as I said before, there are so many different parts you can buy for this car. I've changed the screen in mine, I've changed the steering wheel back to a nice one. There can be different components you can change on this to a newer style if that's what you want. Just the standard one is just pretty bog standard. This is a 99 car, so I mean it had a cassette player and everything. It was just like, have to get rid of it. But if you want to modify the interior, make it new, you can put new seats in, it will look really nice. But as a standard car, the interior just hasn't got the tech that a new car has until you buy something for the car and you put it in, like the screen I have in there. So all in all, I would say the E46 is more of a pro than a con, I would definitely recommend getting one, because I absolutely love these cars. I love my car. I would definitely recommend getting one. They're just so fun. They're just really good cars. So if you're looking to get one and you're a bit on the fence about buying one, hopefully this video has helped and you do want to buy one now, because you should buy one. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Stay tuned for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.